All right, so we have a lot to talk about, so let's get started. What does it take in 2023 to become a web developer? I'm a web developer myself, working from home, and I really enjoy it. I've been doing this for almost a decade now, 6 years out of which on a senior level. I keep getting this question from many people. They want to become web developers, they just don't know where to start. So instead of individually explaining to every single one of them, I decided to shoot this video, and I really hope it's going to be useful for you. So let's get started. There's going to be 3 parts for this video. The first one is personality traits. So let's figure out if it's the right career path for you. Second one is investment, time, knowledge base, gear, things like that. Third one is the actual steps that lead to success, in my opinion. So let's get started. First thing is personality traits. I believe the most important personality trait is lifelong learning. If you like to learn new things, if you're curious, if you have a burning desire inside to know more, to figure out what is there to know about this industry and computers and internet and mobile applications and whatnot, then it might be a very good choice for you. Be prepared though that you need to learn every single day, from the day you make the decision till the day you retire. There's no other way. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. I read it in a book, I believe it was Brian Tracy, but I believe it's absolutely 100% true. You'll be discovering new technologies, new emerging things, better ways of doing things on a daily basis. So be prepared to learn new things every single day. The second one, you need to give yourself at least 6 to 8 months of learning time before you test the waters, before you even apply for a position, for a junior position. Believe me, if you start sooner, most likely you'll get rejection after rejection, and that discourages you. Let me advise you against it. 6 to 8 months, taking the right steps in the right order, creating your website, creating some simple projects will lead you to success. You'll be considered. You can get a junior position quite easily. And once you're there, then you can improve every day, and eventually you'll become senior, team leader, whatever. There's no limit to what you can achieve once you're there. And keep on your good learning habits. The third one is endurance. So you need to endure failure after failure once you make the decision. It's not necessarily the people you meet or something. It's just plain old not knowing what the heck is going on. So you'll see error messages after error message. The programmer's job is to look at error messages. When something is working properly, we're no longer interested, right? If something is completely broken or just a little bit broken, then we're interested. We need to step in and fix it. So be prepared to see all the error messages. Eventually it'll kind of fade, or obviously you'll see error messages because that's our job. I just said it. But you'll know what's going on and you know how to fix it. At the beginning, it's a lot more confusing. It's just really difficult. This is about personality, in my opinion. Lifelong learning, most important. Patience and endurance. Endurance and expecting to fail, and fail often, fail early. And then eventually that will lead to the knowledge that you need to acquire. So the second thing, let's talk about the investment. So now you made the decision, you believe you have the right personality for that. What you need to invest, what are the sacrifices, what you need to do in order to achieve your goals. The first one is time investment. I just said it's going to take about 6 to 8 months to get somewhere. It's not going to be a well-paid job. It might well be that you're making a lot more money at your current situation than what you will make as a junior developer. I have a friend who's a kitchen manager right now, and he has decided about 6 months ago that he wants to work as a web developer. We talk quite often, he's on the right path, and he's well aware of the fact that the first development gig he's going to be hired for will eventually probably pay a little bit less than his current kitchen manager job. However, keep in mind that you have reasons to do this, and eventually once you're there on the level you want to be on, then you'll make a lot more money. The second thing you need to invest is money. Unfortunately, we're working with computers. You need a couple of things. You need a strong computer. However, you can start small. You really don't need the latest and greatest gear. What you need is a stable computer. Well, at the beginning, you'll get away just fine with one screen, but make sure that screen is big enough, because if it's small, if it's a tiny 13-inch screen on a laptop, you'll find yourself staring at that screen quite a bit of time. So I would advise to go for something huge, something rather large. But this is pretty much it. You need some basic gear and you can get started. So the third most important element of your journey becoming a web developer is the knowledge base. In many instances, people believe knowledge base is everything. Once you know your stuff, then you're there, right? So I disagree. I think knowledge base is very important, but not the most important, because you can always work on it. Once you have the right personality, once you're willing to learn, once you're willing to invest the effort and the time, you can always work on your knowledge base. And it's never ready, it's never finished anyway. It's just the way it is. However, let's talk about the basics. So as a web developer, there are some rather basic groups you can decide to belong in. You can go for back-end development, or front-end development, or full-stack development. Back-end development is what you don't necessarily see. So an application is running on the server, communicates with the database, communicates with other APIs, other services over the internet, and it just returns something, a JSON or some other format of a payload. In the front end that runs in the browser will fetch the data from it and send data to it, basically just two-way communication between the front end and the back end. And if you're a lot more interested in data structures, APIs, communication, server-to-server communication, then back-end development is probably a better choice for you. You'll get a lot less queries like, I want you to change the appearance of something, or user interaction for that matter. However, expect yourself to know the basics of front-end development. So there's no such thing as pure back-end developer. If a back-end developer doesn't know how to change the appearance of a button, then, need to learn it. Because back-end development is often associated with admin interfaces, so something that the user don't see, but administrators do, and you'll be expected to know how to deal with some basic front-end elements. If you're very interested in front-end, if you consider yourself rather a design-focused, appearance-oriented, artistic person, then you might find yourself leaning towards front-end development. Front-end is generally all about appearance, how something works, user interaction, UX, UI. You need to learn the nitty-gritty of that. However, you may not need to know that much about databases or APIs or backend services, things like that. Well, you need to decide. If you go for front-end development, then I think there's a step that often missed. You need to learn graphics design to a degree, okay? Often people just don't care, right? I'm not a graphics designer. How come I'm expected to know Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator or even XD something? Well, reality is that you need to know these things. Because if you work for a large corporation, you may have a designer to work alongside you. So this person will create a design, you will get the design in an Adobe XD format. In a perfect world, you just need to follow the instructions and come up with your front-end implementation. However, the world is not always perfect. So if the company is smaller, maybe just doesn't have the budget for a designer, then you may find yourself actually coming up with ideas of how something should look or how people should interact with it, and not knowing how to communicate it to the management is a waste of time. So coding something up that doesn't work to the expectations is just going to do harm. I believe it's really important to lay the foundation, to know how to create some web design in Adobe Photoshop. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're expected to come up with ideas, do them in Photoshop. It takes a fraction of a time. Communicate, give it to the management. They're going to give you a feedback, whatever. And once you have a working design, then you code it up and you'll be good. Either you go with front-end or back-end development, you need to come up with a stack. Your chosen programming languages and technologies, the total sum of them is called a stack. For back-end, there are plenty of choices, plenty of choices. An MVC framework of your choice will be very beneficial. I'm not saying you can't get very far without an MVC framework, but actually this is industry standard. I really like working with Laravel when it comes to PHP, and also Spring Boot in Java. These are absolutely brilliant frameworks. If you like Microsoft, you may go with ASP.NET. That's also an MVC framework. They'll have tools you need for backend development, mostly. To know what is MVC, how it works, is absolutely essential. The front end, kind of different story. It all comes down to JavaScript. You need to know HTML, CSS, things like that. But most importantly, these days in 2023, it's all about JavaScript. Okay, so you've got things like React, Vue.js, even React Native for mobile application development. At the end of the day, it compiles down to vanilla JavaScript. So first thing you need to know is JavaScript really well. You can actually learn, and you should learn, more than one of these JavaScript frameworks. I personally really like Vue.js and React. When I work with mobile applications, then React Native is my choice of weapon. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And the third category is when you choose both. This is probably the most difficult. However, you can benefit from this approach greatly. If you do not want to settle on one particular group and not being able to access the other side, or you don't want to be pigeonholed within your company as a backend developer or front-end developer, then you may choose quite legitimately to become a full-stack developer. Once you're a full-stack developer, you can build the front end, you can build the underlying database structure and the API, you can deal with security issues, you can change the appearance. This is absolutely brilliant, and this is my choice of career path. This is what I took. Back then, I decided not to settle on any of these two groups. I want to be a proper full stack. To maintain this, though, takes significant effort, because new technologies are emerging all the time on the back end, on the front end as well. So you need to keep up with both. You may find yourself becoming a little bit stronger on one, but when it happens to me, then I immediately feel the urge to counter it, to learn or to pick up a side gig or something to work on the other side, not to become like more focused on back end and front end. And it's difficult, but it's really good. So once you have decided on a stack, then you also need to learn a couple of other things like the command line, version control, CI/CD. These are starting points. So once you learn like Jenkins, for example, which is a CI/CD tool, then you kind of grasp the basics of how CI/CD works, how it should work, and you'll encounter many different implementations. Like AWS has their own implementation, Azure has their own implementation. Many independent companies are offering CI/CD services, but once you know the basics, once you know what CI/CD is all about, then basically it'll be a lot easier to adapt. Command line, very similar story. Once you learn your Linux command line, you'll see it everywhere. However, Linux comes in millions of flavors, so you might see another distro, something else. But if you know the basics, then it's going to be rather easy to adapt. Version control is everywhere now. There's a misconception whereby version control is only used for programming. Well, this is not true. You can version control absolutely anything. You can version control pictures or a document, whatever. So knowing how it works is absolutely essential, but obviously as a programmer, you'll use it for your applications a lot more. So I would highly advise you to know these three. Very good. The third most important part of this journey, in my opinion, is how to get started. So you've taken your steps, we outlined loads of things, you've learned your stuff, you decided on what you're going to be, back-end, front-end, full stack, you got your stack, and you've done your studies. What to do then? I get this question all the time. I have a few points for you. In my opinion, there are three quite distinct stages of success, so to say. Well, I'm not going to explain these things like you need to get a website or you need to get your LinkedIn in order. You can find plenty of tips like that. So let's assume that you've done all these steps. You got your website, you got your portfolio, you have 1 or 2 projects that you worked on. Well, you get the idea. So what to do next? The first key stage of success is when you get noticed by recruiters. Don't get discouraged if you don't get beyond this point. It is very good. This is the first sign of success. These people are searching through profile after profile each day, and once they decide to give you a call, it's the first step. Once you're there, you want to gather as much feedback as you possibly can. You just don't get beyond this point. You're not invited to actual real interviews. There's something going on, there's something wrong. But remember, when it happens, you got only one point of contact with the actual real company, and that's your CV. So there's a recruiter, you had a 5-minute chat with the recruiter. This guy understands that you're a beginner, but you're also very good. You might work really well out, and he would forward your CV to his clients or her clients. Well, in this case, the actual company may receive like 100 CVs. So if you're not shortlisted immediately in the first like 10 that receives a call next day, then you may well be in the first 30. You're still good. You're in there. The first step is actually working, but you need to increase your chances. You need to work on your CV. Just take a look at your CV. If you decide what you may need a better CV, just a different typeface or better formatting or something, or you need another project, something that is really strong or speaks for itself. Well, this is the first step. The second step is when you've done what you have identified and you actually get calls from real companies. This is really good when it happens, because it means that you have made it in the top 10, and you may not get hired immediately, but this is where you want to be. I keep telling people who are asking my opinion to make the goal of attending 10 or 20 failed interviews. I think it's really important. If your goal is not to get hired on the spot, but you just want to give your best shot, and you can totally live with the possibility of being rejected, then all the tension just goes away. You can be your best self and listen and gather feedback. So when you get rejection, then you find out why. If somebody would take the time and give you an honest feedback, that's worth its weight in gold. That's absolutely brilliant. And you can work on that. You can just keep doing it, keep working on yourself, keep studying and try again, and eventually you'll get hired. And I think that's the full circle. So one day you are working as a truck driver, kitchen manager, whatever, you decide you want much rather be working as a developer, programmer. You start learning, give it a couple of months, develop the right mental state and personality traits, and make peace with the idea that you'll be doing this for the rest of your life, your career. And 6 to 8 months later, when you get hired as a developer, I think that's where you can really be proud of yourself, because you've done what you need to do. And the life as a programmer, I think it's cool. If this is what you really want, then it's going to be really good for you. It's going to work out. Each morning you get excited about doing something great, work on a project. You can become a contractor and just spend like 3 to 6 months on a project and move on and learn some new stuff, if you will. And eventually you'll develop a vast, massive amount of knowledge about the internet and computers, and I think it gives you a better perspective of the world we're living in, because everything is interconnected, and computers are becoming a lot more powerful each day, and well, generally it's cool, it's really good. So this is why I decided to create this video for you, to encourage you to take the steps, but not to be delusional about what it is about. It's not just something you decide and next day the world is yours. You need to put in the effort. Once you take the right steps in the right order, I believe everything is absolutely possible, 100%, and you should do it. Thank you very much. My name is Roland. See you next time. Bye.